The angels online. The angels online. The angels. The angels. The angels online.
Good people. My voice is a little raspy. I had a Christmas toy giveaway, okay? This Angels Online, y'all. We are here and we are going to be discussing a dope topic. We got domestic violence today that we're going to be discussing. Season 4, Episode 6, DV. And today, as you can see in the studio, if you can't see, studio is just me because my guests are calling in to me from different states. We're going to start with my man that's on the line. We got Dante. Dante, where we talking from?
Greetings. I'm actually on the way to Chicago from Columbia, Missouri. Just, to and fro.
There it is. We got Christina. Christina, talk to me. Where we hollering from, girl?
Plant City, Florida.
Plant City, Florida. Thank you for being here. And then we got Crystal. Where you at, Crystal?
LSD, Chicago, Illinois.
Yes. We got Chicago, somebody that's in motion traveling to and fro. You got Plant City, Florida, which is outside of Tampa, right, Christina?
Yes, it's one of the more affordable parts at the moment.
I know that's right.
Florida.
Look, keep it funky. One of the more affordable parts, she said. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about what brought you to this episode, how it relates to you, whether you're a survivor or you a clinician, whatever it is. Dante, what brings you to this episode, sir?
Well, actually, I'm just here for support and to provide clinical advice to those people struggling with domestic violence. I myself, I guess I could say I've been a victim of domestic violence because as you'll see, or we will find out later, it doesn't necessarily have to be physical, but I have in past relationships undergone verbal and emotional. But I'm just here to be supportive and provide, advice to those people trying to figure out a way to not be a victim and to get out of those situations.
Wonderful, because we definitely gonna need that because our listeners need that information. Cool. Christina, talk to me. What brings you?
So I am a child that lives in a household with, different forms of domestic violence,
okay,
as well as I experienced it early on in my teenage years during the first relationships I had because I did not know any better. So I guess I'm a survivor in different aspects.
Amen. Thank you. Crystal, talk to me.
Hey, so I am a survivor of domestic violence early on from childhood into schooling. I brought the behavior into adulthood with different relationships that I pick out. And I just want better for the youth, for our kids, for our children, for our future children, for everybody, just to know that this is not normal. And let's get into it. Let's talk about it.
That's my line. Let's talk about it. Y'all got to give the people what they want. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And what I'm going to do first and foremost is just give a definition of domestic violence. Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior in a domestic setting, such as marriage or cohabitation, used by one partner to gain or maintain power and control over another partner. It can include physical, emotional, psychological, sexual, or financial abuse, and it often escalates over time. This type of violence affects individuals regardless of age, gender, race, or socioeconomic status. And with that being said, each one of you kind of said something about it because you dealt with it in childhood, whether you were watching it or you endured it, past relationships. So you guys kind of hit it on, and it doesn't, regardless, I believe all three of you are different races at that as well. Christina's Latino, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Dante's African American, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Crystal is white, correct?
Spanish, Indian, Italian, and Dutch.
Come on, girl. You better mix it up. Mix it up. Yes. Tell us what you are, what your descent, all of that. I love it. Yes. So regardless, again, what we talk about on the Angels Online is life circumstances hit everyone. I don't care how broke you are, how much money you got. None of that really matters to me. Life circumstances can affect you, and we literally have a diverse group on here today. Me individually, I saw it growing up, not in my household, but just with family members and just seeing it. And even as an adult, I see it, friends and family, and people don't really know the definition of it or realize that they're experiencing domestic violence. So let's get into it. Crystal, can you share your personal experience with domestic violence?
I feel like my personal experience from domestic violence is, as a kid growing up, watching my mom get into it with my brother and sister's father, just always at each other's throat, throwing hands, like listening to my mom get beaten in the other room, protecting my brother and sister from them hearing it. Just a lot of like aggravation, a lot of like frustration just in the household, like at all the time. So my mom and we'll just say my sister's father, they would fight. They would never want to be around. They would just kind of like isolate us. So just be me, my brother, and my sister. So you go to school, I got bullied. So I guess, I don't know if that's considered domestic violence. I mean, it should be, going home, getting beat up or not, like, fending for myself and stuff like that. Learning about the domestic violence, thinking that it was normal to the point to where I came in and had family members like pull out guns on each other because they didn't want to get hit. And me being the eldest had to go and take that gun from somebody and like, hey, no, this is not right. So it really messes with you when you get into your own relationships because you don't know what you don't know. Like, you don't know what you've never seen before, how people are supposed to treat each other, healthy relationships.
Right.
And then just picking maybe like the wrong kind of guy because that's what you're used to. So my mission and my goal is to figure it out and help the next one, because a lot of us just, it's not that we're choosing to stay in these situations. We just don't know any better because there's not really that many people talking about it.
What's your, when it got into your relationships, you said, what are some things that you encountered in your relationship in regard to domestic violence?
Some things that I encountered were things like just always feeling down, always like feeling bad, or like something's my fault, or like knowing that it's my fault even if I didn't do anything, and don't like understand like that it's my fault. Just getting like physically abused, like hit, like beaten, thrown downstairs. I mean, I've had my own situation. I can't even believe that it got that far, but I've had a gun pulled out on me and I've been shot at. Another kind of abusive relationship that I was in, and I had to tell you what it cost me. It cost me getting kicked like on the ground repeatedly, that I lost my unborn child. So I've been shot at, and I had been beaten. I have been kidnapped. So that's just some of the things that I have endured: shot at, beaten in a hotel, kidnapped by your abuser, and then also losing your unborn child to physical abuse. So that's how far and that's how bad it can get.
Come on. Thank you for sharing that. And sorry about that. We starting off.
Yeah.
Woo. Give it to the people, baby. Real. This is as real as you can get. This is the Angels Online. We ain't got no script. Welcome to life. Christina, would you like to go next and share your personal experience with domestic violence?
Sure. So for mine, not as drastic, and because it comes in all sorts of ranges.
Come on.
But I am the product of an alcoholic father, and I did grow up in an environment where he was very, first off, started like with the escalation, very emotional manipulation of like how she looks and what she can do, and very controlling. And then that aspect did eventually escalate to physical, where I had to step in to protect my brother and my cousin. So that's kind of the environment I grew up in, along with like family members telling you you're not good enough and all of that growing up. And then that led me to my first relationship, kind of seeking out someone similar to my dad, And I also did see my stepdad in some ways have a very financial and manipulative hold on my mother as well.
Mm-hmm.
So as the other lady stated, you kind of see what you know until you learn to do better. But my first relationship was very much someone that put me down, that I was only gonna, he was only gonna be good enough for me, or I'm not gonna find anybody else. Mind you, I was 16 and 17 at that time, and I believed it. And it eventually did get physical, and not from me, but he did end up going to jail for assaulting the girl that came right after me.
Mm-hmm.
So at least I felt validated that it wasn't a me thing; it was a him thing.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Dante, do you want to add and chime in on any of that? I mean, you talked about just in the past.
Yeah, well, and
Come on, talk to me.
yeah, I definitely can attest to this. I was in a situation at a very grown age after thinking that I was this, take no slack type of dude, right? And then I, engaged in a situation with someone who I wasn't even really in a relationship with, but more friends than anything. And I just wanted to be friends with this person super bad, right? And it started out great, and then all of a sudden it morphed into something much different to where it became very toxic and abusive. Not physically abusive, but emotionally abusive, verbally abusive, to where, like, it was just super not okay until I decided, like, I woke up one day, I was like, how did I become this person? I don't use these type of words. I don't hit these low blows. And in all honesty, it's just something that was probably, if I don't find a way out of it right now, it'll result in a very adverse situation for one or both of us. So I remember feeling trapped because, like, I had associated with this person for years before we became friends, and because I wanted to be their friend, I thought they were super cool. And then when we finally became friends, found out way more about them than I never would have thought. There was, like, drug use. There was all these other tendencies that you would have never got from their social media, which is how I met them. So we became friends in real life. And then all of a sudden I started realizing that there's all these boxes that were in the past for me, red lines or red flags and hard lines or stuff that I just would not deal with. And I was like, oh, this person, I want to be friends with. So I'm going to, like, look beyond those things and see if I can help that person and change that person type of thing. And they end up changing me. You know what I'm saying? So I remember feeling helpless, man, and it got so bad to where, my sister was having conversations with my grandma, telling them how concerned they were about me for even having engaged with this person or been associated with this person because of where my life was and is and how that person was living and the associations and things they were doing that were simply not okay. And, for me, when my sister told me that she was concerned about my safety, not necessarily with regards to physical aspects, but being around drug use and all the things, then, I didn't want my family being concerned with me because I had created this life to where, people could depend on me and call me for anything. I didn't want anybody ever worried about me, ending up in a situation out of my control. So that was enough to get me out of it because I didn't want it to, my grandma, my sister knew, and my friends knew. I didn't want my dad to find out. I didn't want my, co-parent to find out that, all those things, man. So it's like, I chose to get out of it. And in all honesty, it was very painful to get out of. It was very painful to get out of. It still takes energy to not get back into the situation because you get used to having people around type of thing. So listen, I get it. But even being in that situation and still going to work every day and giving people advice on how to get out of their bad situations, I was still wrestling with one side of my brain and the other side. Like one side giving myself this clinical advice and you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be around this person. And the other side is like, oh, but I really I can feel like I can help them and change their life and get them from not doing all the things. And, I think most people who are involved in situations similar to the one that I was in specifically are basing their we tend to lean into and see potential, and that doesn't always become reality, or is the reality or desire for the other person. So if you love a person and they're being physically, abusive to you, you seeing potential in them to not be that guy isn't going to be the thing that's going to stop them from being that guy.
Mm-hmm. And that leads to what I was going to ask next. Can you describe the moment when you realized you were in an abusive situation?
Oh my God. I mean, in all honesty, Ronna, and I'm going to try to remember that there's other people on this call. This is just isn't a phone call between us two. I always knew.
Come on.
I always knew. I remember.
Let's keep it funky, baby.
I remember choosing, like, I'm going to be stupid for a little bit until I don't want it. Man, and it's insane for me to say. I remember thinking, I'm going to be dumb because I want this. I like this person. I want to change this person. I want to have this person. So I'll thug it out. I remember thinking that and finding myself in situations and in neighborhoods that I would never go in just so this person was comfortable and can do whatever it is that they need to do. Because I feel like I felt like helping them was meeting them where they were and then trying to get them to another place. And that's just dumb as heck to looking back. So I can't really describe the moment I realized, because I think I always knew in the back of my head. I can describe the moment I decided that was no longer a part of what I was doing.
Crystal, what about you? What's up? When did you realize that, you were in an abusive situation? I mean, you went through a whole lot, you know what I'm saying? So, heck, just the beginning part of it. I mean, you just stayed or whatever. Go ahead, talk to me.
I feel like I could piggyback just a little bit off the last guess.
Dante, yeah.
You kind of always know. You know that pit in your stomach that this ain't right, even if you see it. So, like, I knew that it wasn't right, but my moment when I was just like, when you're in an abusive relationship, it's almost like they were saying, they do drugs, they do this, they do that. And sometimes they don't. It's money, it's financial, it's whatever. Mine was when I knew that they're never going to calm down. If I don't want to get my ASS whooped today, and I need to do whatever they want to calm down. So I would go, God forbid, would go and just go get them to weed so that they would chill out, so that they wouldn't hit me. So that was my calling, like, hey, this is right. This isn't right. You don't do that. And if you continue to do that, you're going to put yourself back in the hood, back in these situations, and you don't know what that dealer is going to do to you. Like, they could have some kind of motive. And it's just like, at the end of the day, you got to protect yourself. And I chose me, and I was like, I don't care what's it going to be, but this ain't right. And I'm enabling them. Like, I'm not helping them.
Oh, my God.
Right. So that was kind of like my deal breaker, like, for me. And then it's just kind of like, what? You just want to get at my family, like you're going to go after this person, that person. Well, you know what? At some point you got to say, go ahead, do it and see what's going to happen. So that was my breaking point.
Ooh, y'all talking to me. We look here. Christina, what's up? You was young, figuring it out. What was that turning point at a young age? Because you didn't know no better. You was just going with the flow. Talk to me.
I did not figure it out. Again, I was 16, 17. And I got dumped because, I found out he was cheating on me and got that girl pregnant. So when he dumped me, he told me all of the things that, you're too ugly, no one's going to want you, all of this stuff, right? So I did not figure it out until I did self-work later on in life, because I went through a couple other toxic, I wouldn't say necessarily abusive, but just not good for me relationships, until I was in my mid-20s. In my mid-20s, that's kind of when I realized, and Rhonda, some of the friendships that I've gone through that are not the best.
Yeah.
So that also played a part where I had to sit back and think okay, I grew up hearing this. And then I, these relationships I've had, including the abusive one, is it me or is it them? What is wrong with me that I keep attracting that? And that's when I kind of had to do the work and realize that wasn't my fault, because I can't control someone's emotional being and the way that they behave, but I can control me. So I didn't have that realization like the other two guests had, where he already knew and she, had the physical aspect to kind of dictate that line. For me, I dealt with that, and I dealt with the depression that came along with the after effects of that for a good, I would say 13, 15 years, because what is wrong with me kind of thing. Even with the friendships I attracted, everything was negative. Like I was always, everything that went wrong with me. And I had to realize that even though it does look like a pattern and I'm the common factor, it's because I'm attracting what I was used to and what's been drilled in my head that I deserve. So I had to work through so many issues in my mid to like late 20s to kind of get out of that.
Baby, listen, y'all talking to the people.
I want to add something to the young lady who spoke right after me. I mean,
Crystal.
Crystal, she's saying something, because the enabling part and then the guilt when you don't enable them is what keeps you in that cycle, and not wanting them to trip out and, spaz out and create a bad day out of a good one. Listen here. I get that. I get that so much.
Ooh, baby, listen. And see, for me, I didn't just listen to your stories is that's what I've seen, and just knowing Christina, personally, I remember, just her going through some stuff, and even the company that you keep. And before I ask my next question, I just wanted to add that, and just listening to you guys, I've seen it. And so being, you can only say so much to individuals, right? And you don't want to tell somebody, you don't want to victim blame, you don't want to do any of those things. And so it's hard trying to figure out, how you help them and whatnot. So a question I have for you is, what signs were there for your friends and family? Like Dante, for instance, said his sister was like, okay, look, grandma, something going on over here. For me, when I grew up, just seeing my cousins get hit on and stuff like that, I'm 11, 12, 10, and I'm watching this, and they're probably about 17, 18, 19. And so for me, I'm like, it wasn't happening. This wasn't happening with my mom, right? So I'm like, what is this? So by the time I turned 19, so mind you, they're not thinking I remember all this, of course. Nobody's thinking about this, right? Nobody right now thinks that it affects kids. And we're here to tell them flat out, yeah, it does. We saw that. At 19, I said, I wish I would. Wait a minute, hold tight. Because I was reminded, I'm like, man, I'm 20 years old. When I was 20, I was seeing, when I was young, I saw my cousins at 18, 19. They was getting hit. They had pistols getting pulled on them. I don't even see that happening to myself right now. And I was saying this at 19, 20. So for me, I took it and was like, I wish the hell you would. And see, my brother abused me growing up, like hit me and stuff like that, bullying me, stealing my money. That was domestic violence, if we want to say that. And, I'm going to add my sibling. I don't talk to them to this day, But, and I'll tell, and that's part of my story. I'll tell you in a minute, I was the first survivor, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm right here right now talking to y'all, and I got this episode, I survived. But after me, and my sister, it was more of the women he had children by. Like literally like domestic violence, like abuse, hidden, one got so tired of it, she stabbed him in his foot. I mean, look here. I mean, my brother is an abuser.
Yep. He
is an abuser. And then, with the drugs and everything later on now, it's just like everything plays a part. Now, your abuse and it goes back because now his kids are seeing that.
Yep.
So it just repeats itself. So if there's no one like a Rhonda to step in and say, hey, man, that's not normal. What we're not going to do, and again, that's part of the Angels Online and my nonprofit, Martha's Angels. We're going to teach these kids now so they don't have to tell these stories later on, or they can tell them and say, I didn't have to deal with that. I didn't go through that because I learned when I was younger from listening to Crystal, Dante, and Christina tell me in advance, no, I ain't supposed to do that. I'm 16. Hold on. That ain't normal. Okay, no, that's not normal because there are adults out here who have not been able to say what you're saying or address their own situation, and they're still going through it right now.
Right.
And so if these kids are looking at it, That's a problem. Because I'm telling you firsthand, I saw it. You guys are saying firsthand, these ladies, they saw it. Mom getting beat, father alcoholic. Go ahead.
In certain aspects, especially like Latin culture and everything like that, you guys are talking about seeing it overtly. And in our households, it's done behind closed doors. So other people aren't necessarily aware of what is going on. Like my mom was getting beat and no one knew because, we don't talk about anything that happens in this household outside of this household. And it's never done in public or places that are visibly seen. So if you don't see it happening in other households, right? Because I didn't see it happening with anybody else. I'm like, okay, maybe it's happening like in my house where it happens, but we don't talk about it. Once it happens, it's like hush hush. Like you don't speak about the family problems and business outside the house. Kind of thing. Girl, so it's more of that's cyclical, right? Like, so it happens and it's going to keep happening because there's no outside factors outside of that environment that is going to stop it.
Because they don't, because they don't know about it.
Those people that are living it and witnessing it and no one else that can possibly intervene.
And that goes with, I'm going to stay on Christina because two questions she just hit on actually, and I'm going to knock them out both together because we're going to elaborate on them. One was what signs should friends and family look for to recognize if someone might be a victim? And another question that I had was what role does society norms and cultural factors play? She literally just hit on both of those because she specifically said in Latin culture, people are not knowing what's going on, in her experience. You know what I mean? We can say that somebody else had a different experience, whatever, but we're going to speak right where we are right now because also in African-American culture, that's like, since we have Dr. Carr on here also, that's like saying, well, I ain't getting no mental health. You know what I'm saying? I'm not getting no therapy. Ain't nothing going, keep what's going on in this house. Don't tell nobody what's going on in this household. Don't tell our business, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of like the same thing what Christina said. Things are going on in the house and the friends and family don't know because it's going on behind closed doors. And the only person that know is the kid or individual who's within that same environment who's being succumbed to those situations, and I'm really glad you said that, Christina. If you want to add to that, any societal cultural factors that play in domestic violence, you can definitely add to that. Or Dante, you can go ahead and add.
I will add, you said, I'm so sorry, do you want to go ahead?
No, go ahead. I was
going to say signs of someone who lives through that people can look out for. And a lot of that, to me, and for what I experienced, it's disassociation and kind of isolation, primarily. And it doesn't necessarily you just become like what people like emo or like in your own world. It's like the person's there, but they're not really there. They're there because they have to be and they have to be present, but their mind is elsewhere, if that makes sense. Like in events and family situations, especially if they're around the people that they're witnessing or living that experience through, that's something you see, like if that person's not really interacting, if it's interacting, it looks a little forced or like very distant in general, that would be a sign. For me, that was a sign that I kind of wish people saw before I attempted to, young kids would say now, unalive myself in TikTok speech. It's kind of like you're there, you're the happiest person when certain people are around, you kind of fade back. And that's a good sign because sometimes it's not always physical, like we stated, it's sometimes emotional, financial.
Yep. So. Wonderful. Dante, go ahead.
Well, in association to the things she said, in addition rather to the things she said, for me, it was very much like, it started out with very much like, okay, this boy's on a trip. So if I'm going to talk to anybody, it's going to be my sister first. So I would call and complain to her, like, this dude was on some other stuff. And I think something's going on because we're driving to Jennings every day. And, that's outside of my
jurisdiction, okay?
So I'm like, something sketchy is going on. And I would ask people, hey, how does people act when this is going on? So then at some point, the person became super comfortable in telling me what was going on. So I expressed it to my sister, and it's like, you need to vamp out. So when I tried to address that with them, how I was not cool with it, then that mental manipulation took place, where this is how I cope with all the bad things that's ever happened to me. And you have to let me do this if you really care about me, because this is the only thing that helps me out. And I'm like, well, I also want to help you out to get past these things. So maybe you can do this a little bit longer while we work on other areas of your life. And then that grew to something else. And then, it's the emotional toll took place, and I became, like she said, very distant. I talk to my grandma probably 5 times a week, talk to my sister probably every other day, talk to my dad every other day or so. And I had absolutely no desire to talk to anyone. One, because I feel like in my life, as soon as I say hello to any of those 3 people, they automatically know what's going on. They automatically know. So I would rather just not talk to them. So then I don't have to answer any questions or explain or answer any follow-up questions about, hey, what happened? What eventually happened with this? Or who is that person you have living with you and all these things? I just became super distant. And then my sister was like, nope, we're not doing that. What's going on? We're concerned about you. And then that's kind of what was the turning point. Well, it's like they know something's wrong. And whether they have the specific details or, all the things, they know, and I know they know, and I also know that this is wrong. So if we're all in alignment that I need to get out of here and run for my life, essentially, then why am I not doing that? Like, this person is not worth all those things. So I did become super distant. I became super secretive. I became all the things. And it's like, I want to say events, like before my sister even said something, I hoped that she would say something, which is why I would have those conversations with her for advice. And the first couple times, she was just like, well, hope you figure that out. And I was like, I need you to tell me what to do, in all honesty. So eventually that did happen. It was after I became, distant and avoidance and all the things. So definitely look for people who are specifically leaving out details or situations that they previously discussed with you. That always dig for the follow-up. I'm heavy on that. If you tell me somebody, did something that was what I consider a red flag, I'm going to ask you, hey, so what happened with that? What's going on with that?
Yeah.
And then, you know what I'm saying? And dig for it, because people what I know from personal experience, I wanted somebody to tell me that I need to get out of it, because otherwise I was going to continue to rationalize their behavior and make it acceptable in my own little world, even though I knew big picture it wasn't.
Come on. Amen. Crystal, can you give me, what are some signs maybe that your friends and family saw or that they could potentially look for? Or what roles, what societal norms and cultural factors played in domestic violence with you?
First off, I do have to say, what's is it Dante?
You got it.
Or Diane? So what you said is that you wish your sister or somebody would have told you, you got to get out of that. For me, so even though I'm the legit survivor of many, I was also a victim of many. And I think what is so important about this podcast with you beautiful people is that what he said and what I say is, I wish that I had somebody to tell me that this is not normal, because I didn't have this is not normal. I didn't have the family that cared to look out and be like, hey, what's going on? What's this? Yada, yada, this, that, like nobody told me. So I'm the loner in the groups. I'm the one, the signs for me is like being bullied at school, kind of sitting at lunch by yourself. It's the one who gets quiet, the one who's the cheerleader, who is the loud one. And then you kind of just revert to like your turtle. You go back in the shell when you're around certain people. So like if you're in a family setting, an outing setting, and you notice these people, this is how this person is. But when these people come around, like, look at them. Why are they quiet? Why are they sitting in the corner? Why did they disappear? Where are they? That is a really big indicator that people need to look out for. If you switch up who you are when you get around certain people, that is the hugest red flag. As far as culture, the Mexican part of my family, they don't talk about anything. Everything is, like she said, kind of behind closed doors, but you could still hear that. It just takes somebody in the family who's strong enough to step up and say, this is not okay. Like, this is not okay. This is not how we're supposed to live. This is not normal. It's just, I don't know, how do we speak to those children who don't know how do we get out of this? Who do we talk to? Where can we go? Like, that's what I want to know, because I wish that I knew where I could go. I wish I had this beautiful podcast to tell me it's going to be okay. That's not normal. Get out of it. Like, this is a blessing in disguise, and I'm so proud of all you guys for speaking. And that's all I got to get about that, because like the kid in me, that version is, I wish that I had somebody like you guys, because this is a very good thing that we're doing. And I
Come on, it's all right. We here. This, baby, you got to get up people what they want.
Yeah.
Woo! Good people, baby. It's all right. This is a safe space, baby. This is the Angels Online. Welcome, good people. So I got a question. Anybody can answer this first, because we outside. We having a good time. We talking about it. It's positive energy right here flowing. I don't care if you're crying or you're laughing, whatever it is. That's what we're supposed to do here. There is no script to the Angels Online. How has your experiences shaped your views on relationships and trust?
Oh, I'll go first.
Come on.
I would never do it again.
Come on.
Never. Listen here. And what I hope we discuss at some point is how difficult it is to recover from those things.
Yep.
I mean, going from, and again, I don't want to be that guy, but you end up missing the person. You end up saying, well, there at some point there's maybe maybe that wasn't so bad type of moment, and then it's like you get to the point, okay, well, F them.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when you're good. So getting past the initial, I don't want to say grief, but the initial gray area of post situation where you low key kind of miss them and you wish, you're trying to rebuild and all the things. But, I don't know. I just think, I don't know.
Look, that's real. How do you, so for me, just experience, just seeing stuff or whatnot, and then watching how, you turn around and abuse these women and stuff like that. Like my brother, just seeing how these men, how my cousins were or whatever. I'm like, okay, trust. I know how to trust people myself. You know what I mean? That's based on that. Everybody's not a friend. I believe in saying peers, associates. I believe in saying all those things. I don't use those terms too loosely, friends and family. So as far as relationships, if we're talking about intimate relationships and things that I've seen, I saw what I didn't want to have in a part of my life, right? And then I also see and I pay attention, utilizing the experience, I pay attention to how other people are using those cues that you guys just mentioned. I pay attention to all those things, and I can easily say, hey man, you don't got to deal with that. No, that's not normal. Like I'm that friend that's going to tell you real quick, that's not normal. What the hell is that? I'm that friend that be like, well, shoot, you can come over. I wish he would come over here. Look here. I wish he would. Look, okay. Because that manipulation and that overpowering that I might be seeing, that's also a trigger for me. Like, nah, you ain't doing that. Like, we ain't having that. I saw that and I saw it when I was little. I went through it when I was little. It's not happening over here. That's not what, I'm not about to allow this. But you can only tell people so many times. You know what I mean? Like Dante stated, you have that gray area in relationships that you're missing from that one individual, and you're trying to figure out how to just get it out of there. Hey, look here, I want it to be black and white again. This person just keep coming back up, going in and out or whatever. That wasn't good for me. That's not good for you. You kind of just
That's it.
Play the whole reel. Don't just play the good parts. And it's about them.
Yeah, that's it. Put everything on the line.
Ugly.
Sit it all on the table. Sit it all on. You know what? We got this gray area. Let's put it all on the table. Put everything with that gray area. Now pick out those parts. Okay. Does that sound like this is what you want? Nah, because you got to ask people. Ask yourself, man, does this sound? You got to play it back, and let them openly admit that. That's like when I talk to kids, I tell them,
play the entirety though. Because again, people romanticize a few good moments. Right?
Yes.
A few good moments. Because a lot of us, maybe not all, come from like a craving for the love and attention. And,
especially from.
So you romanticize those moments you got where they fed that to you. So when you miss them, you only play the good parts, and you played excessively, but you don't play back.
Yeah, over exaggerate.
100%.
Yeah. So you romanticize and you aggrandize the few good things they did.
Dante said over exaggerated, like, and we went, oh my God, and we went and we did it. Oh my God, it was just utter. just extra to help block out the negativity.
Man, I remember saying to myself, the stupidest thing I could have ever said is, you know, when they're not on fentanyl, they're really
Lord.
nice.
That's wild.
When they're not on fentanyl, they're nice.
When they not on, so when they ain't on,
Girl, look, when they're not high, they're nice, but they want to be high all the time. So Dante, where's the nice? Where's the nice bit?
And it isn't always like something as drastic. Like for a teenager, it could be like for me in my case, like, but they picked me. They had all the girls that they wanted to date, but they chose little old me that never got picked for anything. They picked me, you know, like I must have been special. Like he must have meant the few good things they said. Like it really means a lot. When honestly, it's like the bare minimum. And then the like crumbs that don't even justify the other side to that coin.
And then like in your situation, Christina, you said that, you know, afterwards, he was telling you, reminding you, ain't nobody gonna want you, this, da-da-da-da-da, you know, which, you know, plays in your mind to think, oh, I'm not good enough, you know, because you were already wondering, oh my God, how did he pick me? And then that's what you're going through.
Yeah, and that's from, like I said, my experience is a little different because it wasn't as violent as others may experience, but I grew up with a family that when they tell you you're not good enough, oh, you look weird, or all, you know, you grow up listening to that, right? And it's done in very micro aggressive ways, very in minuscule forms, right? Where other people are like, oh no, they're just joking. They don't really mean that. But when you hear that consistently, and then you experience what I've experienced with like my mom and my dad and the alcoholism, you already have severely low self-esteem. So when this person comes around, and again, I didn't date in high school. I've shown you pictures, Rhonda. You know what I was like into sports and all that, but no one looked my way. So when this person came and they looked my way, and had a couple of nice things, right? And officially made me their girlfriend. I thought that was like the biggest gesture ever, but that was my self-esteem.
You feel like you were naive?
When that breakup happened, that he, you know, found out he was cheating, he was physically abusive at one point, but like even his family was in on the berating and the demeaning. And to the point where after the breakup occurred, he would follow me to my work and bring his friends to my work.
Let's talk about that part.
Yeah, he would bring his friends to my work, my job. And like I was a cashier. I was, again, 17 years old, working at Burlington Coat Factory. Okay. And they would wait for me to get out. It got to the point where security had to walk me to my car because he wouldn't, not only did he knock me down and said what he said, right? He should have stood on that. But then it was like, no, I didn't mean that. You need to give me another chance. While, you know, still having this other, it was just a very like cyclical, and he wanted the control that he no longer had over me, but it's still my self-esteem, like I said, wasn't there. And it took me years. And if I'm being honest, at 30, I just turned 36 yesterday, but at 36, I'm still dealing with trying to accept me for me. And I feel like that's a result of childhood and past relationships, because I put so much of my self-worth and value on the perception and the opinion of others, because that's what I was raised to do.
Well, first off, happy birthday. And you 36 and looking great, okay?
Thank you.
And got a beautiful little boy over there, that little baby. I love him.
Now than 30, but it's okay. It's okay.
Girl, you better be great. You better be great. You are worthy. Come on. On here, talking about that with that son you got over there and that amazing husband you got. You better shine. Look here. I'm here for it, Christina. I'm here for it.
Yeah, but you know, Dante, I know you were kind of agreeing. That eventually did end up to me trying to commit suicide, right? And I ended up in the ICU and all of this other stuff. And afterwards, I went and talked to, because I was in college, a lot of young girls. And I think that a lot of the root, if it's domestic violence at a young age, it's a lot to do with like self-esteem and self-worth. And what they'll accept from others.
You're exactly spot on. And I want to be clear when I say at my grown age, all of this took place within the last like year. So like even getting out of that situation, like the person went after I blocked them and like, you know, made myself unavailable to them, they would go and like add my sister on Facebook or comment under their statuses. God. Even so much, I'd be in my office or whatever, and they'll text me, or they'll call into my office and say, hey, can you send, you know, Dr. Carter, can you tell Dr. Carter this person's outside or this person's here?
Shut up.
And I'm like, like, I don't have an appointment with that person, nor do I want to see them. In fact, let's call security. So it's like, there's
If
no...
it makes you feel better, Dante, I am 36. This happened to me when I was 16 and 17. This person still reaches out to my family to this day.
It's insane.
Oh, Lord.
Don't even give me...
restraining order.
Y'all got me drinking a whole lot of water over here thinking it's something else. Because listen, oh my goodness.
Don't even get me started on their family reaching out, because their family have your contact information and all of the stuff that they've told your family, and now you have to deal with, that as well. Again, I was always the guy, like, it won't happen to me. Anybody, and I always like, anybody can put their hands on me. So much so, I was so focused on anybody putting their hands on me that I unknowingly ended up in this other situation, and was like, as long as this person put their hands on me, and which never happened. So I was so oblivious. It was so slick how it happened, because I was so focused on abuse being physical. And even though I know it's not, but I'm like, I'm not putting myself in a situation where somebody put their hands on me. And here I am getting mentally and verbally abused because I don't want to be around drugs or whatever. And I also want, again, leaning into potential, you know what I'm saying? I want this person to get well because I feel like I knew how they could be. In all honesty, I didn't have no idea who they could be, because I never knew them when they weren't on drugs. I just didn't know they weren't on drugs.
Mm.
Well, I'm just going to chime in for a second, because I
Come
hear
on,
you
Crystal.
guys. But when I tell you I've been through everything sometimes, and I just thought about this, all my stuff happened. I put a stop to it at 23. And y'all ain't old. I'm 38, going to be 39. Hello, look good and shiny.
Period.
But sometimes, and I can resonate with you guys, sometimes that mental, that verbal, that emotional abuse hurts more than getting hit. Sometimes it is like you are getting your ASS whooped.
Yes.
The mental abuse, the verbal abuse, the emotional abuse. There was one situation where the daggers were just kept coming. Like, they're just saying all the things that you just can't come back from. And I tell you what, that one just had me up in my bed being like, what is wrong with me? It must be me, like blaming myself. So I didn't want to be here anymore. I was like, I'd rather you just hit me, because at least I know that will go away. Like,
and I can fight back. And I can fight back.
Right. And I can fight back. Like, I wish somebody would come at me and hit me now. Like, it ain't gonna happen. No. No more. But I understand. I can resonate with you guys with that mental, that verbal and emotional abuse. Like, you just gotta learn to, like, let it go. Like, it's not you, it's them. Like, you gotta do that healing. And once you do that healing, you ain't gonna look at life the same anymore. Because we don't know what we don't know.
I agree with you with 100%. And even, being married, and all of this is happening as I'm married to someone else. But married, I've never been, like, emotionally defeated to the point where I get, like, visibly emotional. But nobody has better comebacks than me, I'm convinced. I can read and tear somebody to shreds verbally. But when people are hitting all of your low blows, sensitive spots, and you have an emotional connection to them, you become weak. I couldn't think of stuff to say back, which pissed me off even more. It had me, like, tears in my eyes. Because, like, why? Why are we here? How did we get to this place? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm generally here just to help you, and you're beating me down because I won't continue to give you $20 a day for drugs.
I don't want fentanyl in my life.
Correct.
I mean, and you start thinking, am I tripping? Wait a minute. Am I tripping? But then you say the word, like, okay, I'm fentanyl. I don't want the drugs. I don't want I don't want the death certificate on me. I don't want, and you get to questioning yourself. And when it get, like, I understand you saying you got to that point, Dante, like, you questioning yourself, like, bro, I don't want the drugs around. I don't want to give you money. I'm not supporting this habit. I want to help you in a way that can really help you down the line, down the stretch.
Yep.
Like, I'm not here.
But you can't help somebody who don't want to be helped.
100%.
I know.
Exactly.
And I knew that.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that.
But that's where the battle come. Like, it's not good. Like, I was in a relationship and I'm like, this is toxic. And you steady trying to figure out how you can help this man. I'm like, you know what? I throw the towel in. we be friends or whatever. If I don't answer, I just don't answer. At this point, no, like you messing yourself up. Like you not finna have me thinking, and here I am, with all this knowledge and this education, and like I literally sound like that. I was like, I wasn't saying nothing wrong with me. I'm just like, at a point I'm like, am I tripping?
Yeah.
Like, no, you gotta let this.
Another coin to that is like, you guys are talking about fixing someone. My situation, like the relationships after the fact, is like, how can I be good enough? It's never like, can I fix you? It's like, what can I do to finally be good enough for someone to love me?
Yeah.
So that's a whole different side to that.
You gotta do the work within.
And that look, I got a question that goes with that or whatever, because it was like that's why I like different perspectives on this podcast, because Christina was like, my situation was younger, different. But you know what? Somebody needs that. Like somebody, exactly what you're going through. There's a young lady going through that right now. Like literally. Mm-hmm. And that's the best part of doing this, because everybody has different aspects that they can come from and that they can put out there. But a lot of it relates to each other on how we deal within, how we deal with it mentally, what resources we use to get, all these things. And obviously we can all connect in this when it comes to our dialogue, even though our situations have been different from whether I saw it or whether she was a teenager or whether she was 23 getting kicked and losing a baby, or Dante got somebody he about to lose his friend, because he don't want to feed into the drugs. Dante going to places that he ain't been. I look at him and be like, what you doing over there? Let him tell me that he over there. I'm going to be like, but what the hell over there? Wait a minute, what's over there? You got a game you going to? You going to support somebody? What's going on?
Yeah.
That's the type of questions that you start asking. So a question I was going to ask, because Crystal mentioned it or whatever. What did you do, Crystal, to regain your sense of self-worth and empowerment after experiencing the domestic violence on your behalf?
What I did finally after I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of feeling unworthy, unloved, less than, like fighting their own demons, Christina said, like, what's wrong with me? Like, I just went out there and tried to help the next. Like, anybody who just like needed a smile, because I always needed to smile, I would just be kind to people. And that's like kind of like how I helped myself heal, was just doing good to others, because I have been hurt so much that I don't know what it's like, or I didn't know what it was like for a healthy relationship to even feel healthy within myself. Because this went on since I was, 8 or 9 years old. It's always been, whether it's verbally, emotionally, or the physical abuse of access. It stopped at 23. So from the age of 9 to 23, that is a lot of years of being abused in every which way. It's just helping the next one in line is what heals me, what helps me, what gives me purpose. That's how I heal. And then lately, this past year, I seek therapy now. Mm-hmm. So for the past year, I've been in therapy, and you really don't know I really never understood my childhood and how much effect that had on me, because I buried everything. It was like it never happened. I am the master at burying things, like, oh no, I can't remember anything. It didn't happen. Yep. But when you get older and you get to like a marriage, or like you have your first child or whatnot, it's like all those childhood memories, they came up to me. Like when I'm loving on my twins, I'm like, why did I never get this love and affection from my family, like from my mom, from my dad, or X, Y, and Z? And all that just kind of like boiled up. And I'm 38 having these emotions that I didn't have at 23 or anywhere in between. It happens now. So if we don't address what happened kind of like in the childhood, it really creeps up on us later. And I never knew that until I had my own kids.
Wow.
And now I'm doing the work with therapy to work on all that, to get everything that I kind of pushed down in my pit. So now my signs are, if it makes me feel uneasy, if I hesitate, if I gasp for air, if I do anything that is not me, it is not for me, and I just go the other way.
Love that.
Like, good. Thank you, got to go the other way. Bye-bye.
Good.
Love it.
And
Love that.
The fact that you're helping others, it goes back to earlier when you told us that you didn't have anybody for you. You didn't
Yeah,
have
I still don't
anybody,
sometimes.
you know, well, we right here, baby. Look here. And you didn't
Oh,
have
yes, yes, yes.
you know, so when you now, you know what it feels like to not have someone say, leave that fool alone or don't do that or whatever, you know, like, you know, Dante said his sister and grandma, you know, he stopped calling because he know that they know that voice, you know what I mean? But you didn't have
Right.
anybody. And so you know what it feels like. So you're giving
I
it
know
back.
what it feels
You
like.
paying it forward. I think that's a blessing. That's huge. Thank you for sharing that.
And I'm just going to add something to that
Go
real
ahead.
quick.
Come on,
when
baby.
I knew
No rush.
that I didn't have the family to come for me was when I was locked in that hotel room for 3 days. Nobody's coming to save me. At some point, you got to save yourself. At some point, you got to get up. At some point, you got to rise. And that was my
Baby.
turning point. Nobody's coming to save me. I got to save myself. Because I
Resilience.
love me. Yep.
Come on. Dante, how you regain sense of self-worth and empowerment after experiencing this friend of yours, fentanyl, man? I can't get over that word because
Man,
that's something
listen,
that
I'll
took,
be
that
honest with you,
took
can I
my
be
brother.
transparent?
Tell me.
I'm still there. I'm still
Come
trying
on.
to get there. I'm
Come
still
on.
trying to get there.
Come on.
Again, like I said, this is all very recent.
Mhm.
And I want to add another turning point just to
Go
just to
ahead.
pull on your emotional strings, Rhonda. This person was in my house one day, and our godson, you and I,
Yeah.
the one we share, was in my house, and this person just, you know, I was talking to our godson. And I guess that person felt left out of the conversation, so they became super irate and hysterical. So
Stop
our
it.
godson was like, "Hey, you should be talking to my dad like that in his own house." And this person like bucks up at our godson. So then I become a different person, and I look up at this guy like, "You're not going to talk to my godson like
Wait
that
a minute.
in
Wait
my
a
own house when
minute.
he's telling you something that's correct." So that's when I was like, everything's cool when it's a secret and no one knows, but you didn't literally just embarrass me
In front of my baby.
in front of my baby. And now they're going to go home and tell their parent, who I also co-parent another child with. Like, so it's going to create a big system. So I have to, at this point, I have to leave you alone.
Yep.
I have to. So that's another thing that played into the separation. But another thing is, you know, I had to realize like how I got to that point because, again, I've never been like that in my whole life to fall into that. So there were some issues that I had to address, like in my own personal life with my marriage and the time we spent apart and needing, because it all stems from needing and wanting somebody around all the time. For me, that's what it was. And this person just happened to be the one who ended up being there. And I got used to having somebody around type of thing. So, you know, it was a conversation for me and my spouse, like, hey, you know, I understand what your work is. You understand my work is. We got to figure out how to be around each other more. I'm not saying you're the reason for this. I played a role in this, but just resolving those issues internally, or whatever the issue is for whoever it is, figuring out what that is, because nothing happens and we don't allow people to treat us any kind of way for no reason. It's always for a reason. The key is to find out what that reason is, or what that trigger is, or what that button or soft spot that's being satisfied with this behavior. Find out what that is and trying to figure out how can we put that, you know, trigger on the inside as opposed to the outside, or, you know, realigning yourself with who you are, what you deserve, what you need, what you want, what you require, and then not settling for anything other than that. I mean, I can go deeper into that, but that's the nucleus
your turning point was
my opinion.
once it affects the kids, you got to go. Now, you know,
and that's
probably,
I don't care. It's not about me at that point. And
that probably was the best thing that could have happened
you're not gonna
because
treat my kid like that.
But
you're not going to have me embarrassed and looking like that, because they're going to probably think it's okay for them to treat somebody like that,
right?
Or for them to get treated like that. And that's not what we're doing out here. We're not raising those kind of people.
But the fact is that kind of probably was the best thing, because you probably would have still been trying to figure it out how to, you know what I'm saying. But it had to take. So God put somebody in that room on purpose. Like, look here. Okay, we know this gonna stop it. We're gonna have this little boy in here to see what this mess is. Hold on.
Yeah.
We're gonna shut this down. You know what I mean? And sometimes you need that extra push, because it would have never you probably would still be dealing with that right now.
Not gonna do it.
So, oh my God, yes. Christina, what did you do to regain? And well, you just told us, you know, at 36, you know, you still working on you. You still trying to love you. Like you, you know, go ahead.
The main thing though was to sit my behind down. In my mid-20s, and to stop trying to like search for like a partner to validate me. I had to sit down with myself and like look at me, and the opposite of what Miss Crystal said, I was always a happy-go-lucky person. I needed to stop pretending to always be okay and be happy for everyone else's benefit, I had to sit down and think about like, what do I like about myself? You know, like I'm looking for all of this from an external source. And it took a while of just being by myself, to kind of get that ball rolling. It's still a work in progress and it might always be till my dying breath, and I have gone through therapy, but that's what I had to do. I had to stop trying to seek the boyfriends and situationships and the toxic friendships to like fill a void that I couldn't fill within myself. And stop just pretending to be okay all the darn time. I used to have always a smile on my face. I could be like falling apart inside, but I was always smiling and joking, and that wasn't helping me. It was helping everyone else feel better about themselves, but it wasn't helping me. So those are the two things that I had to stop doing to help progress and move forward and out of that cycle. Unapologetically be yourself.
Amen.
And then stand up to family who, you know, I'm a black sheep, but you already know I'm the black sheep of my family, and I had to like own that just because I don't fall into the mold of what their expectations of what a woman, Latino woman should be. So.
And you're doing a damn good job. Excuse my language, okay? And you keep doing it.
Thank you.
Look here, I'm proud of you. So here's a question, because this goes back with the cultural. Because we're gonna close out here soon. What resources or support systems were available to you, Christina?
None. If you look at it like culturally, I didn't have any, which probably didn't help my situation. But the resources I got were in college. So in college, they have counselors. And they have different avenues I could go to for help.
Right.
And then after that, I did help local high schools around that area that had programs for young ladies.
Good.
And I know there's a lot more programs now than there were back, 06, 07, back in those days, because mental health wasn't looked at as closely as it is now.
That's why I asked this question.
I
go to
hope
the
that
next one.
eventually there is the Latin community opens up their eyes that like depression is a thing. Your words do have an effect. These kids carry what you tell them on a day-to-day basis, and it helps mold who they are. And I hope these centers in my hometown start to include more resources for children.
What's your hometown? What's your hometown, Christina?
Oh, I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
And where are you from originally? Yours your Latin culture, my dear?
Dominican Republic.
Yes. Dominican Republic. Thank you so much.
They're behind a couple of, they're behind a lot in regards to like therapy, and they haven't caught up to where we are nowadays.
Understood. I'm going to say for me, cultural side as well, mental health wasn't no thing growing up at all. So when I saw all that stuff, and I was like, my mind didn't think at 12, and you know what I'm saying, and to say, oh, you guys gonna go see somebody? That wasn't a thought. It didn't even come to my mind, not until I got old enough. A lot of things I learned when I got older, when I was able to, I was in school and I learned to understand it myself. College, I'm one of the first generation college students. So that's the thing for me or whatever. I don't know the support systems. The crazy part is people knew that these certain people was getting beat on or whatever. And, hell, as my mom's only son, he didn't really get no trouble like that for doing what you know what I'm saying? It was more like, you get along with all them other people, but you don't get along with your brother. What?
Yeah.
What do you...
blaming?
Yeah. And literally that's what we got all the time. Victim blamed all the time. Like, how am I supposed to get along with somebody who's stealing from me, who busted my lip before I start the day 8th grade? You know what I'm saying? Who burned my wrist, and I got a scar on my wrist for that. How do you get along with that person? What are you talking about? Where then, at this point, you just seeking your friends that you hang out with or whatever. I remember beating my head up against the wall. I was so mad because I was like, why don't you do something about your son? Why do he get the, you know what I mean?
It's your son.
Just, you know what I mean? Everything. And what word, we said a word earlier, enabling. Unfortunately, he was enabled his whole life. which is why he in the situation he in right now in 2024. Okay, and look, he's not in my contacts. I don't deal with him or whatever, but I see where it stems from. Hell, I was your first victim, but I'm a survivor, bro. Like nah. But you taught me already. You know, I started lifting weights because of him. I say, ain't no man gonna ever put their hands on me again in their life. Never. You know, I live my household. We don't have those problems in my household, and so my normalcy is laughing with my wife, being great, having a good time and everything else. So when I see other stuff, I'll be like, wait, that's y'all relationship? Oh, no. Okay, that's what I say. Okay,
no. Famous last words, though. Famous, I never say that. I never say couldn't be me. I'm like, you never know. You never know until you're in that situation.
Yeah, correct. And I'll be saying it to people, I'm like, baby, I'm blessed to have what I have, but it's also based on my experience and what I will accept, you know, and that's huge as well. You know, you're going to settle for, you know, something that's like Christina. I love going over to Christina's house. And if I go to travel or whatever, Christina, where you at? You know, husband's great. Beautiful boy. Like, I mean, when you see it, that's the type of vibe.
The new house.
Yeah, you know, but that's the type of environment that I want to be in. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so that's why I'm so glad, and I invited her to be on, because I'm so glad to see where she has came. Yeah, she's 36 and she got things that she says she's working on or whatever within herself. But to be able to see this young lady overcome what she has been through, you know, she don't look like it by any means. You better come on and be great, Christina. You know,
I will say the most proud thing. What's the thing I'm the most proud about is that my son will never know that under my control a day in his life.
That's
and
it.
He just turned 6 not that long ago. I'm very proud of that. Like, I do not allow any of my family to talk to him in any sort of way or talk to him. He probably thinks he could, like, be an astronaut tomorrow if you ask him. Because if you want to do that, yes, you can, baby. There's no issues. You can do it all. There's no negative talking to him in regards to his character and his person. He's 6, so he's going to get in trouble, yes. But I'm glad to be starting to break that cycle.
There you go.
In regards to my house.
That's the important part. Man, we regaining, we doing it. Dante, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
From a professional standpoint, can you explain how can you yourself, or how can mental health professionals effectively support survivors of domestic violence?
Well, I mean, just constantly making sure that, like, say, for example, my patients, making sure we constantly revisit, like, you know, self-worth activities, action plans, constantly checking in to making sure they're not putting themselves in risky situations or behaviors, just based on comfort. A lot of times, some survivors who find themselves out of those situations can experience, you know, a life-changing event, and then, you know, it's easy to slip back into that comfort zone of, you know, those type of behaviors and attracting those same kind of people because, you know, that could be what they're used to. So just constantly making sure you're checking in, right, with your patient or, you know, clinician, even still on the other side of it, other side of the table, making sure you're very cognizant on, you know, how do I feel about this? Being in touch with yourself and your nervous system. Say, hey, is this a problem for me? Am I going to take this red flag as a stop sign or a yellow light? Right? Understanding, you know, who you are, what you need, the needs of those people around you, to make sure that you align with those things. Because it's easy to, like, put other people in front of you or over you, rather, more over your own needs. And then that's how you put yourself in a position to be mistreated or mishandled, right? Does that make sense?
Yes. Crystal.
Yeah.
Crystal be ready. She be like, because I know your support system, you didn't really have much, but you just started therapy. And I just want you to know that it's never too late to start therapy. You know, you said for the past year, you know, and that's why I wanted to go back, because I wasn't worried about the support system part. You know, you covered that a lot. And so I don't want to dwell on that with you. I want to just talk about your milestones. You know, you're starting therapy. You got twin boys, right?
Mm-hmm. They're going to be 3 in February.
Amen. When their birthday? I just want to know. I'm nosy. Because I'm January 26th. Hey, Aquariuses.
Oh, February 8th.
That's what I'm talking about. They right behind me. Okay.
Yeah.
Good people. Okay. So, and I also want to say I met you at Kosha Joseph's Her Soul the Experience. And you went to that, but you said you found it, you wanted to, those are some of the things that you do. What was that for you? That's a mile marker for you. Just attending a healing conference, just attending with a lot of other women who are experiencing certain things and we don't know. It might not be the same thing, but they were looking for the same love, healing, nurturing that Dante was talking about and that you were looking for. How was that for you?
So the Her Soul event, just putting yourself out there, going by yourself, how that was for me is just like seeing all of this amazing panel of women, seeing the amazing women like in the audience who were brave, courageous to come there and just seek. So the reason why I went down there is because I'm good, but I know that I need something. I just didn't know what that something was. So when I went down there, I got what I needed. Just the love and everybody else's story and knowing that I wasn't alone and that I'm not alone and I don't have to move through this life alone. Like if the support doesn't come from the family, like, your immediate family, your aunts, your uncles, your moms, your dads, your sister, and your brother, it's okay. That's a hard pill to swallow. It's taken me many years to learn that, but it's okay because support and love comes from unfamiliar faces. It comes from strangers. And it's like being in that environment. Like I just learned that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to do this because like the right people will, I don't know, kind of like be drawn to you like a magnet. So when I went there, I just kind of got the sense of like, I'm on the right path. It just like my soul just needed everything that Her Soul provided. And I encourage everybody to look up the next event.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. That is crucial. And the Angels Online, and that's why it's not Angel Online. It's not about me. It's angels because you are someone's angel. Everybody is. Your story, Dante's story, Christina's story, my part of it. You know what I mean? We are all on here and we online, baby. We online. This is episode 6 of season 4. It'll drop soon. Man. I want to ask everybody this one last question. How is it? First of all, 2 questions. What message do you want to share with others who may be facing similar situations? Christina, what message do you want to share with others? And you could do both at the same time. How important is it for survivors to share their stories and what impact it might have on others?
My message would be, it gets better, even through the darkest of the dark and the hardest of the hard times. Giving up, I know sometimes is a thought, but life can get better with the right people, with the right love and the right surroundings. And you're not alone. You're not the only one going through it. So don't ever feel like it's you. There's help. Just look for it. And it's important because survivors that provide those testimonies can be that source of help and a source of light to someone who might be in the trenches. You could be that shining light at the end of the tunnel for somebody.
Come on, share it. Thank you so much. Dante, what message would you share with others and how important is it for survivors to share their stories?
Oh my God. The first message would be is not mandatory, right? You're not obligated to deal and be a participant in the situation. You don't have to be the second party in that situation, right? They can be there, but with someone else. It doesn't have to be you. You're not forced or obligated to stand there. I suggest asking yourself, what purpose is this person serving? And then, if after first deciding what it is that you need or what you require in a person in a relationship, and if those two lists don't align or look the same, then, you might want to consider getting out. And then also being vocal about what you're going through. I mean, in hindsight, it's easier to just recluse and deal with it in, your head and the personal spaces that you occupy. But you need to I suggest being vocal because one, you'll realize, you'll come to know that, like the young lady said, you're not the only one going through it. Two, you can discuss with those people who probably went through it and came out of it a strategy to exit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I have.
Thank you. Crystal, do you have anything to add? Do you have a message on why it's important for survivors to share their stories? Or what message do you like to share with others who may be facing the similar situations that you went through?
For the one, that is why I think survivors should share their story.
Come on.
Just because my story is not going to resonate. It's going to resonate with a few people. Dante's story is going to resonate with a different crowd. Christine's story is going to resonate with a different crowd. Your story, a different crowd. So I think it's very important for people to keep pouring and sharing their story, because they're going to connect with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to find those people who need them. Like, I just think that it's so important for people to keep speaking on that. And what was the second question?
Come on, girl. You all right. Is there anything you want to share with others who may be going through something similar?
I want to share with you that it's going to be all right as long as you never give up, never forget on you, what you want to do. Block out all the noise. Do not listen to other people. Don't let them place their impossibilities on you. Just because they couldn't do it doesn't mean that you're not going to be the one to break the curse. You're not going to be the one to break the chain. It's like, keep going. Whatever you feel in your heart, I need you to run towards that and block everything else out.
Period.
That's what I want to tell you.
Yes. Boy, this season 4, we coming in hot. We talking about domestic violence. It's episode 6. We coming in hot, baby. We got Dante. We got Crystal. We got Christina. And it was a great episode. It was great dialogue, great conversation, different perspectives, different points of views, different experiences, man. And I want to say I thank y'all so much for coming on and giving me your time today. Happy holidays. Happy birthday, Dante. Your birthday is today. Christina's birthday was yesterday.
Happy birthday.
Come on.
Thank you.
Happy birthday all around. Crystal, when your birthday, baby?
March 30th.
Okay. We got some time. Make sure we stay in touch. Anybody ever got questions? Christina, I'm going to see you next summer. That's the family trip. I'll be visiting you. I'm going to have to come visit you.
When you get here.
I love visiting people and seeing y'all. You know what I'm saying? So stay encouraged. Stay uplifted. You know, surround yourself around positive energy. If you ever need positive energy, you know, you just call me, because I'm going to tell you good people, baby. And I'm going to remind you how strong you are, just being on here and giving your voice to the people, whoever listens to it, 2 people, 3 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, whoever it is. I just want to say thank you all so much for coming in. And before we leave, you know, everybody got to give me a good people. So, Christina, go ahead. Give me a good people.
Good people.
Dante, give me a good people.
The people.
There you go. Here he is. Crystal, go ahead. Give me a good people.
Let's go, good people.
Uh-oh. Look, I'm glad she went right before me. Because you know what I'm going to leave you with, baby. You got to get a people what they want. Good people. Ladies and gentlemen, this is season 4, episode 6. We talking about domestic violence. Thank you for tuning in. Woo!
Go people, go